Welcome back to Before You Build. I am Brandon Holland, Senior Sales Manager with ARIID Build Remodel.
And I'm Ariana Anderson. And today's topic is going to be, should we go forward with our construction or should we wait?
Now, there's a lot of noise about tariffs, material costs, interest rates. So we're going to dig right into that. We're going to get into the meat and give you the framework so you can actually make your decision on whether or not you want to move forward. So let's get into it.
Yeah. And here's one interesting thing. Waiting, people think it's free, but really it's not. So we're going to dissect and really find out why, even when you're not doing anything, is not free. Brandon, let's start with what is happening with tariffs. That's been kind of the noise that you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, tariffs are really starting to affect raw materials markets. So your aluminum, steel, seeing that on your lumber as well. And, to the tune of, about 4 to 8%, depending on the materials. Now, I will say aluminum definitely has more of an impact on the window and door market, but at the end of the day, it filters into every single part of the project. What I'm telling clients right now is budget an extra 10 to 15% just to cover your bases, because, if you're starting the design process now, you're 12 to 18 months from actually being, in your home. So if we're seeing 6 to 8% now, then that, translates into 10 to 15 by the end of your project.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess from your side, when clients come to you mid-uncertainty, how does this affect the design decisions that you're making with them?
Yeah, having some flexibility in the materials we're selecting. So what I mean by that is before we had a lot of European tile. So maybe now having also options that are US made. So having options, I think this is one thing that we are considering. And also where are the products coming from?
Right.
That's a big decision on our part.
Especially when it comes to lead times, right?
Oh my gosh. And we'll talk about that later.
Absolutely.
But yes, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
So about lumber, people especially before, during COVID, there was a huge lumber. So the first thing they think is lumber. That's what seems like everyone is talking about.
Yeah, no. And so we used to get a lot of our lumber from the Canadian markets. And what happened was first COVID had an impact on that. And so production in the US market shifted. So domestic production ramped up. And then with the tariffs, it just, it compounded that. And so now US lumber market is pretty healthy. So we've seen an increase in lumber. That's going to continue to trend upward slightly, but overall, it's leveled out for the time being. Ariana, you work with clients on specs and selections. Where are you steering people away from right now because of supply chain exposure?
Number one thing is European-made cabinets. So they first of all, they've always been taking longer to manufacture, but right now we even have a bigger lead time. I mean, it could be almost 2 years, 24 months to get those done. So that would be my top thing to steer people away.
Wow, that's quite the lead time, actually. Yeah.
What's one thing that homeowners aren't factoring in or thinking when it comes to tariff costs?
Yeah, I mean, we can't hit this point hard enough. I mean, number one with a bullet is lead times. That is the number one thing people don't factor in. And, we try to get ahead of those things. We know which products are going to have a greater lead time. And so we anticipate that. We plan for it, try to stay ahead of it. But, it's something that can really cost you a lot on your project, because if you don't plan for that, you're going to pay for expedited shipping, or then you're going to have to go with a more expensive option because it's more readily available. There's just so many different factors that play into that. And lead time absolutely is overlooked more often than it should be. So tariffs are one piece of it, right?
Yeah.
But there's something that affects your project just as much, and it's not getting talked about in the same way. It's a contractor's availability. So Ariana, you talk to clients at the very beginning of the process. So let's start there.
Yeah. So you want to have enough time to get good subs. So when we're doing a project, we want to have at least 6 to 12 months before we break ground. So even when we complete the job, when it comes to design selections, we want to have that healthy budget to put our clients into our schedule, even when we're doing design build. So if you're looking for someone else, if someone can start, tomorrow, that could be a problem. Usually you need time. You need time to get the everything ready. It's not, you can't just come in and turn on the lights and start demoing. That's usually ends up in a problem. And we actually seen that firsthand. Not done by us, but yes, when someone's homes gets ripped off before they even have permits. So
so when should they start reaching out?
Yeah.
I mean, what?
It should be 6 months, 12 months. You need when you're ready, start having those conversations, because it does take time to plan things, to do even research. It does take time for a normal good company to even onboard you.
Yeah, you can never have too much runway to take off in a plane, right?
No.
Well, same thing with construction. You can never have too much runway when you're starting your project.
And communicate that with your team. Say, hey, I want to start, but I want to start in 4 months. What does that look like? And they'll get you set up and do things in the background too, to slowly onboard and then really hit the ground running when it's your turn.
Yeah, because you already have a foundation laid, right?
Yeah, and then the team can actually delegate that chunk of time for your project. What does scheduling look like when someone wants to call a quality firm today?
Well,
Really.
first and foremost, if someone can start right away, that's a red flag. If you reach out to a contractor or a design firm and they're like, oh, we can get started on this today, do your due diligence, look them up on, you can do a contractor search on the Washington State website. I always recommend that. Look at reviews. And, if you can, reach out to past clients of theirs.
That's a good idea. For
yeah.
sure. Like, you want to vend them. You want to know who you're working with. And it does take on client's part a little bit of digging,
And hopefully, I mean, at the end of the day,
yeah,
hopefully, you're able to actually reach out to people that'll give you a full picture of what the process is. At the end of the day, things go wrong on a construction site. And so if I get a referral and I reach out to that referral and they talk about some of the things that went wrong, that's not something that's going to stop me from working with that firm. Because what I want to know then is, okay, how did they handle that problem? What did they do to fix it and address it? And if they handled it a responsible way, then, that usually is a good sign that they're
100%.
a responsible firm and someone that you want to work with.
That's for sure.
But essentially, most firms, quality firms are going to be 6 months out typically.
Yeah,
and it varies. I mean, it varies wildly.
It varies on the job too. Like if there's a full house renovation, yes, you need enough time to even put a good bit together for like a large project. It will take 3-4 months really to really figure out everything, because then you can get a full bid for that. So time, it seems like you need to have the time put in front. Otherwise, what happens is you choose someone. And then there's going to be, we talked in another video, change orders, how they affect that. But that's what you will see is a price increase. So
okay, so I guess my question to you then is if a client is sitting on a project for over a year, say they've paused their process or whatever, and then they come back to you, what do you have to revisit before you can start construction?
Yeah, like a lot of times clients think we can pause or we're busy and then we can just call our, even from design perspective, then we can call and then we want our drawings tomorrow. You should, and that's not how it works. You lost your place in the line.
Yeah. And we're going to try to prioritize you, right? But at the end of the day, it's you have other people in front of you now.
Sure. I mean, no matter how much we want to, put them as a priority, but it does take time.
Yeah.
And that's one thing is we're working on a different project at this point, and it will take time to get them back into this queue of projects. But another thing is there's a thing called momentum of a project. When the whole design team is in that project, there's something beautiful about it. It's that energy. It's
you hit that flow state, right?
You're in the flow. You're in in the zen moment of that project. Now, when that stops and they're ready, it's kind of, we start, but it takes time to ramp up for that. So it's not turning on a switch in a dark room and you're back to where you were. It does take time. From design perspective.
Absolutely.
So what happens with skilled trade? That kind of question to you. We have plumbers, electricians, what is their availability? Waiting or doing things? This waiting is worse or is it better?
Well, yeah. So in the skilled trades market, I mean, if I could give young people any piece of advice right now, if you aren't sure about whether or not you want to go to college, get into a trade, just do an apprenticeship and see how you like it. That's how I got started in this industry. That idea is it's been pushed to the side for a long time. So you have a lot of aged out electricians and plumbers, especially that are retiring, right? And then you had COVID came along and that really put a damper on the introduction of new people into the labor market. We're still recovering from all of that. And so they're in high demand. And so that's why having a good lead time and knowing what the process looks like so that you can schedule them far in advance, because I can tell you right now, a good plumber or electrician,
we need to schedule them.
You need to schedule them, and you need at least a couple months lead time on any major work. Small stuff you might be able to get someone in there to do a quick repair.
Yeah, but bigger projects that we typically do, it's it takes time. And if we scheduled someone, they're lucky to be on the schedule, because otherwise it's stopping. And we had that kind of happen too. And it's well, when they come back this right now, it will take them, months to get on a decent schedule. So it's making sure that if you committed, you committed.
Yeah.
Now, that kind of leads us into another thing is wait and see.
Right.
Is it really free? Right. It's let's wait and see. So can you walk us through what actually delays look like when we talk through the math? What is delay of a 12-month actually looks like?
Yeah,
on 150,000. Let's put it over 150,000. What will that look like?
Yeah, so I mean, theoretically, your natural inflation on construction materials and labor is 4 to 6%, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you really put that number into perspective, on a $150,000 project, which is a small project, you're talking maybe a small kitchen remodel where you're not doing a ton of moving of walls or anything like that. You got a standard sized kitchen. That $150,000 project, it's 4 to 6% higher just with natural inflation. That translates to over $10,000. So now that 150 is 160,000. So
if you can't get the kitchen done,
yeah,
right? If you
yeah, just get it done.
Pushing it
Yeah,
off.
so the wait and see mentality,
It's not free.
It's not free at all.
No, it's not.
There's a tangible cost, and that doesn't even factor in the non-tangible cost of now you're still living with that kitchen that is a nightmare, that doesn't have a good flow,
or functioning oven, right? Like how many we come in, it's like, oh my gosh, this oven hasn't been working for years now. It's like, get it done.
I had a client that went without an oven for 5 years, and like their solution 2 years ago was to finally get an air fryer. And so, they finally realized this is just silly. And so they decided to move forward with their project. But
instead of
you deserve better.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like spaces influence you. And those are some videos I also talk about how design influence. And that would be a huge influence.
So from the design side, what changes for you if someone decides to pause for 12 months and you got to jump back into it?
Yeah, it's, I think we can mention that a little bit. It's maybe not even money that much, like financial, but it's the momentum of a project, it's the quality of the project. Like as much as we love our clients and we love the projects we do, there's this energy that we have and the vision, and it's like you have a momentum. So continuing the project is when you start, like just finish it, at least, take it to a permit stage, right? And we'll talk about that a little bit later too. But like that is something that at least you have a nice break.
Because people don't want to commit capital a lot of times. And so that's the deciding factor for them to decide to pause. So I guess, what is something a homeowner could do right now during the decision phase that protects their position without committing capital?
So you get through your design development, you get your construction documents, right? So you get through that, and then like you will still have a natural pause for minimum 4 to 6, maybe more months, because when you're in permits, and that's a natural pause for you to think, put your finances in order, like to release, and that is actually good time for even talking and having the contractors start putting the solid, getting that commitment letter and getting things in order for to have a successful build as well.
Yeah, and sometimes that natural pause is enough to where by the time you get through the permitting process, that pause has done exactly what you intended to do in the first place.
Yeah.
And so now you're ready to get started.
Yeah, and it gives enough time for you to even move to the next phase. So I do like that. So about permit time, is this something that people actually factor in when they decide to move forward or not? Like really?
Yeah, I don't
talk to people.
Yeah, I don't think anyone factors it in correctly on a regular basis. And the reason why, it's not because they are incapable of doing a good job. It's more just there's so many variables that you just
they don't know. Like we had a couple come in and they thought that they could get their permits in like 4 weeks, and it's
4 weeks.
I'm like, where? It's like King County. Like I don't know, never seen that. But like I think it's unrealistic expectations too.
Well, and that's for sure. And that was driven by a contractor that told them that
not even a contractor, but yes, they were set up for that. So
so that was basically the initial review was 4 weeks. And so that's the other thing is too, you have to educate people that it's like the initial review. Yeah, sometimes the initial review will happen quickly, but there's a back and forth that happens no matter where you are in your remodel process. When you get to the permitting process, just know it's not going to be, I submit this, it's approved, I get to work. There is an exchange of back and forth because, at the end of the day, everything that the city wants here in Kirkland versus what they're going to want in Bellevue or Everett, it's slightly different. They want to see it differently. They might want the same solution, but they want to see it presented in a different way. And so, that's going to take time. And that's why we say 4, 6, 8 months sometimes on permits.
Yeah. And again, to point that out too, is for people who are watching, who are not in Washington, because we do jobs outside of Washington. Like Montana has different rules. Like you can build whatever you draw. Really, there's like, you don't even need a freaking, permit. Yeah. But
as long as it has the engineering and you can draw it, you're good.
You can build. It's your land, right? So like that's different. But like for King County, that's going to be different. So making sure that you work with a team who actually, if it's like local team, like make sure that they worked in the different states as well, because slightly different regulation will apply. But for state of Washington, it's a pretty strict regulations in what can be done.
Absolutely. So when waiting makes sense, right? We talked about, why you shouldn't wait, the factors that affect that. So when does it make sense? We're not here to tell everyone to go build right now. Sometimes there are real reasons to pause, and we want to give an honest look at those because the wrong move in either direction is 100%. Is expensive.
We made a strong case, Brendan, for like why to move forward and like get this stuff done. Like we've I think we made enough good evidence. Absolutely. Now, let's balance it out and say, when should a client really wait? Like, when is it a right time to wait?
Yeah, there's a few different reasons, right? So first, if your financing isn't in place, I mean, let's be real. If the money's not there, you're not ready with it, and you're not sure how you're going to finance it, whether you're going to do a HELOC, a construction loan, if you're going to pay cash. If you don't know the answers to that question, then, you might need to wait. Second, scope isn't defined. Budget and scope are important. So if scope isn't defined, there's no reason to proceed.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of people get into trouble, because there's a hidden cost to proceeding with construction before scope is defined. And that's where you're going to see change orders,
Yes.
because contractors will take on a project. They're like, well, this is my base cost. And, they'll try and give you a ballpark number based off of a lot of assumptions. And there's nothing about that is dishonest. They're just doing the best they can with limited information. You need to have the information defined before you actually proceed with your construction. Okay, so third, if you're planning to sell within 18 months, maybe reconsider, because not everything you do is going to add value money-wise. It might add value to your lifestyle and the way that you live within your home, but it's not always going to pencil out short-term. And so in that 18 months,
financial investment, I agree.
Now, there is a caveat to that. Now, if you know you're going to move in 18 months and you're trying to increase the value of your project, then we can design to that, right? We can work with you to try and make smart decisions.
In some cases, it works, for sure.
Definitely. They're few and far between, for sure, especially these days. On the design side, is there a scenario where you tell a client your project isn't ready for construction, so let's slow down?
For us to tell a client to slow down, it's like if they haven't committed to selections, so they can still commit to the tile, and that, or like cabinets. So that really applies to smaller jobs. So if you're doing just a kitchen, for example, you need to have all of your tile selected. You need to have all the cabinets. I mean, it applies to a large job as well. There's maybe a little bit more of that flexibility that you could, change. And again, as long as it doesn't change the cause and trigger a change order, because even like a small thing like tile, like, well, I moved a different tile, but now it could be a mosaic or like, penny tile, and that will require a different cost of installation than if it was a regular, 12 by 24, or if you decide to go to 48 by 24, that will that would change the cost. So if you haven't made those choices, that's, try to get them done. And it's scary, but if you have a good team, they are investing so much energy into this success of the project that, you hire them for a reason. You have to have that trust and move on. You like them, right? So I think that would be one thing. Final question, Brandon. So if someone has been sitting on their project for a year, what is your honest answer to them?
If your finances are in check, if you are ready to go and your scope is defined, the cost of waiting is so much greater than proceeding. So if those two things, if you can answer yes to both of those factors, then just get started. You won't regret it.
100%.
Yeah. So if you're in the Seattle area and you've been thinking about this, reach out to us. We do free consultations. We'll come out to site. We'll have a real conversation with you about your project and give you the honest feedback on what makes sense, what might not make sense. And at the end of the day, we're not going to pressure you into signing any contracts. We'll just give you the information so you can make an informed decision. So,
and to speak of that, we do host events every month for homeowners and, anyone who is doing a project to come in. We provide lunch and we can chat and answer any questions. And we usually have a cool topic each month. So look for that sign-up sheet. It should be generating in the social media, on our website as well. Would love for you to join us and meet us in person. And we can, you can ask all those questions that you haven't. So
and if you want to comment seminar in the video, we will send you a link directly so that you can sign up for.
So you don't miss that next one we'll have, and we host them in our office in Kirkland. So love to meet you in person. Thanks for being with us here in our podcast Before You Build, everything you want to know. And until next time, we'll have amazing and fun topics to talk to.
Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe,
please,
so you can follow us and see the next video.
Yes,
next episode.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.